everyone, I am Dr. Sonal Jain from Department of Anthropology, University of Delhi. In this series of forensic science lecture, today we are going to discuss about forensic documents. These are also known as question documents. The documents which are as defined by the section 29 IPC, the word document denotes any matter expressed or described upon any substance by means of letters, figures or marks or by any of those means intended to be used or which may be used as an evidence of that matter. So, if we go by the definition of section 29 IPC, it says supposedly if there is any item on which any words are being described, then we have to take as a document. For example, in case of any murder, any assault, if there are certain handwritings which are present on the mirror or on the table, then that piece of item can be confiscated as an evidence and that can be analyzed as a question document. Nowadays, if we see that for various educational qualifications, for various job, we need to verify all the various documents. So, that where the question documents or the forensic documents are of major importance. Else in the matter of property or will or any other major things where our documents are involved in government, Aadhaar cards, PAN cards, etc., there all we analyze the documents. Mostly cases which are being encountered in the forensic science lab, they belong to the forgery of various checks, various wills, where the documents have been typewritten or computer printed or handwritten, different types of documents which are being submitted as an evidence at the forensic science laboratory. So, whenever we talk about the forensic documents or the question documents, they can be classified into two categories, that is disputed documents or question documents or suspected documents. These are the documents which is under question or which are found at the crime scene, or these are the documents on which questions are being arised. For example, supposedly a student has submitted a mark sheet for the higher education in the college and they feel that this document is forged or a disputed document. Then we call that as a question document, a disputed document or a suspected document. Similarly, there might be a will on which two families are fighting. So, supposedly one of the will is forged and one of the will is original. So, to identify the disputed document, that is the question document which is under analysis. Whenever we receive, if someone has any document related to the checks or wills where the signatures are being forged or there are any handwriting which is present on the documents, all these classify under as the disputed documents, question documents or the suspected documents. Now, the second category when we talk about is the standard documents or the known documents. Standard documents means, for example, if the person says this is not my signature, which is being forged on any will or any other material, for example check, etc., then for the standard documents we will take the signature of that person or any other non documents where he has signed before or maybe the bank has the record of that person's signatures, then those come into the standard documents or the known documents. In the document science, whenever we are analyzing any document, we need to compare it with a copy of different document. For example, we say someone has submitted an experience certificate of a previous job to the new job, but that document is being forged. Then that document which is a suspected document or the question documents, we need another document to compare it with. So, from where we will get that document, the original one, or to compare it with. So, we have to go to the company and we have to ask like what kind of document do you give for the as the experience certificate. We need to look for the printing, we need to look for what type of forgery is being done. Is it the original document, only the dates have been changed, or the document is being made new and the signatures have been transplanted. So, depending upon what kind of question is present in the document, that's why we call that document as question document. That means a question is being arise on that particular document. It could be of different types. For example, the signatures are forged, the handwriting is forged, the matter is forged, the whole document is being forged, or maybe a single line is being added to it, or maybe a single signature is being added to it, or a date is being modified. So, there could be many possibilities that what kind of forgery is being done in that particular document. So, when we say disputed document, question documents or the suspected documents, we say these are under scrutiny and their unknown origin, their origin is not known. Whereas, when we say the standard document, these are the documents of known origin, and the standard documents can further be categorized into two parts, that is specimen documents and admitted documents. Now, what is the difference between specimen documents and admitted documents? Let us take an example. If we have a question document where handwriting of a person is being involved, then we say we have 10 suspects who might have written that document or who might have signed on that particular document. So, two type of standards we can take. One is after the commitment of crime, whenever we have the person with us whom we have suspected has written or signed the document, we give him the certain writing piece that you take this piece and write this particular specimen in front of the investigating officer. That are the specimen documents. Admitted documents are the ones which have already been written by that person in the past. For example, we say that a particular student has made some handwriting characteristics, we have to match with it. So, one specimen document is when we ask that person to write the document in front of the investigating officer, and previously if he has or she has submitted some assignments in the past, or he has some examination papers in the past. So, we are taking to match the handwriting or the signature, or any bank documents in case we have to verify the signatures. Those are admitted documents. So, just to know the crux of it, the admitted documents, we say they are from the past. The person has already written that, has already signature, and they are already being submitted. But the specimen documents, they are being written now in the present in the front of the IO when we need samples from the suspect. So, whenever we are talking about the specimens or the sample writings, there are certain points which we should take in grant, that they should be obtained by the IO, that is the investigating officer, from the suspect or accused in the presence of witnesses or before the court of law. So, whenever this admitted genuine writings or signatures or normal writings which are written by the accused in the routine course, for example, any letters, any applications, any bills, any will, or any diary if he is writing, those are the admitted genuine handwritings which have already been written in the past. Now, the question arises, why do we need specimen as well as the admitted documents? So, the main reason behind that is, if we are asking a suspect that you write or you sign, and the suspect knows that he is the criminal and that is his handwriting and it can match, so he will try to disguise. Disguise means he will try to make some changes in the handwriting while being written in the front of the investigating officer. So, to avoid that disguise, we always want some admitted genuine handwritings which are written in the past. Whenever we are taking the sample, we always keep in mind the basic principle that like is followed with the like. For example, if we have a sample of handwriting, then we should take the handwriting. If we have the sample of signature, then we should take the signature. Always if the person has written, not the person, we say that the question document, if it is on the plain paper, then the specimens should always be taken on the plain paper. If it is on a check, if it on a lined paper, then we also take the handwriting on the lined paper, and if the check is present, then the specimen should also be taken on a different check. We say whenever the investigating officer is asking the person to give his or her handwriting, he should never show the original question document, because the suspect might deviate his or her handwriting or signature from the question document. all the surfaces should be similar. For example, as we have discussed that if the question document is on a plain paper, the specimen should also be on a plain. If it is on a ruled sheet, the specimen should also be on a ruled sheet. If it is written with a pencil, then a pencil should be provided. If it is written with a pen, then a pen should be provided. So, the whole similarity should be maintained and the basic principle of comparing like with like should be followed. This was about the specimens. Now we talk about the collection of admitted writings. So, while collecting admitted writings, the following points should be taken into the consideration. The admitted writings and signatures should be authentic. The admitted writings and signatures should be of same contemporary period, that is, they should belong to the period during which the question document was executed. So, let us suppose we say for this particular point, what do we mean by the contemporary period? Supposedly, a person who is 30-year-old has written his will and now that person is around 80 years old. Because of the old age, because of some disease, the handwriting of the person, it changes and it changes with a lot of variability. So, if we are talking about a will which is under question and which is being written when the person was 30 or 40 years old, then the writings should be also of that time period when he was 30 to 40 years old. That time if he has written some applications to the bank or if he has some handwritings in any other forms, that should it be compared with. Because if you are comparing now with a person who is now 80 years old, there would certainly be many changes because of the old age or any disease if he is suffering from. For the like admitted writings, the text should be compared with the text and the signature should always be compared with the signatures. So, when we are collecting the specimen signatures or the specimen handwritings, the one thing which should always be keep in mind by the investigating officer that the question document should never be shown to the accused. In case it is felt by the IO that the accused is disguising or distorting his or her handwriting, he/she should be called again after a gap of 2-3 days. So, whenever we are giving our handwriting sample or we are giving our signature sample, it is the human nature that we cannot disguise it for more than half an hour or 1 hour. After some point of time, our natural characteristics will come in our handwriting. The specimen writings, we are asking the person, the accused or maybe the suspect, we can say at this point, whenever he has come to give the specimen, we will say that you should write in all 3 different speeds. We will provide him the medium like the pencil or pen on which the question document is being written. We ask him to give the signatures in slow, medium and high speed, and the suspect should be told about the style in which he has to write. For example, the cursive, the pen printing, block lettering or the notebook print or the mixture of all these the person should write in. So, while collecting the specimens, the IO has to be very careful. The text which is present in the question document, the exact text should not be given to the person. For example, if a text is speaking has words, a similar text should be prepared by IO where the same words should come but at different places. One of the most common example is the London writing where we have all the alphabets present there, we have numbers present there, so we could get to know how the person writes. But the actual text should not be directly dictated and the actual question document should not be shown to the suspects. So, whenever we are taking the specimens, the name of the person along with his father's name, address should be mentioned on each specimen sheet along with the signatures of IO and 2 independent witnesses may be in front or not in front of the court of the law. The spellings and punctuation should never be dictated. That is the one thing which is the individual characteristic of a person. If a person has made a spelling mistake in the question document, it is very much expected that he will create the same mistake in fact in the specimen document. So, the IO should never tell the spelling to the suspected person. They always prove useful in identification of culprits in various cases. So, If we are asking the suspect to give us writings, they should be obtained with both the hands, that is the customed and accustomed. If a person writes mostly with the left hand, then we ask the specimen from both hands, as well as if he is writing from the right hand, we ask the specimen from the left hand too. The writings should be obtained on similar kind of document. Like I said before, if the signature is present on a check, because the specificity of the amount of the space which is available on a particular document also infects the handwriting of the person. If we have been given a very small space, the way I will sign would be different if I have been given a very large space to sign. So, the like should always be compared with the like, and the spacing should also be given similar to the person. The IO should put his signatures or initials on each sheet with date when the specimens are being collected. Now, the question which is always a vague question, how many handwriting samples should be collected? They say that 10 is better than 5, or some says 20 is better than 10. But according to my point of view, that number of standards collected should contain all the individualistic characteristics to link it with the disputed document. Like I said, whatever different combinations of markings are present in a question document, if any particular, everyone writes number in a different form. Everyone makes 2, 9, 6, 7 in a very different form. So, depending upon what all is present in the question documents and what all we have to compare it with, so similarly the specimen should contain all the characteristics depending upon the IO, how he is making the person write different ways, all the numbers and the letters and different words. Whenever we are going for the handwriting examination, we follow the Simons-Newcomb principle, which says the probability of concurrence of all the events is equal to the continued products of the probability of all the separate events. For example, we say that if a person has applied for a job certificate and he is making a fourth certificate, then we have to look for that whether he has been a part of that previous job or not. We have to take all the separate events and making the probability how that may occur, the totality will give whether that particular event has occurred or not. So, similarly we say that every mature writer has a writing which is personal and individual to him alone, and every individual handwriting undergoes gradual changes in the course of his life. So, depending upon when we say we are taking the admitted writings, we go for the contemporary time period. This contemporary time period we are specific because if a person becomes old, the handwriting of the person gets more different changes. For example, sometimes the speed becomes slow, sometimes they are not making the characters properly, whether depending upon the script they are writing. So, there might be a huge difference between what a person used to write 10 years, 20 years before and 20 years after. Specimen handwriting is one thing which should be taken into account when the case is new or the case is of that time period. But there are certain documents on which the questions arises. That time the admitted writings are much more important, because if a person has written his or her will, that might be written many years before, and then we have to take the admitted writings. Also, it might be a case the person is no more. So, in such cases the specimen handwriting samples are not available. So, we have to rely only on the admitted writing samples, and we have to get maximum admitted writing samples wherever we can get it from. So, the gradual change which occurs in the handwriting of a person from his lifetime will follow certain general patterns and are individual to each writer. We say that deterioration of an individual's handwriting due to any cause affects all the writing properties, and it is not confined to change of one or two elements. A writer cannot exceed his maximum writing ability or skill without serious efforts and training applied over a period of time. So, whenever we see the handwriting, we talk about, we can get to know the skill of the person, how meticulously he is making the characters, how beautiful we say the handwriting is, and how he or she is pronouncing or writing different words. If we say the person who has written and handwriting, within 10 days the skill of the writing cannot be increased. For that a lot of practice is required. So depending, if we say the question document and the suspected document, there is a lot of difference in skill, then on that basis we can eliminate that particular suspect, because the skill of the question document was very much high compared to how the suspect is being writing. Generally, whenever we call the suspects to give the specimen handwriting, the suspects become nervous. So, in case sometimes they try to disguise their handwriting. For example, they will try to write slow, they will try to write in poor skill, and always this is the rule that disguise leads to an inferior quality and never a better quality of handwriting. We say that there are certain natural variations which are present in everyone's handwriting, and it should always be present. That also gives the sign of authenticity of that particular writing. So, if the IO call is calling a suspect to give the specimens handwriting samples, the person, if he is trying to disguise, we will see the speed of the person will be very slow, because he or she will try to make the characters. For example, if the script is English, the person will try to write the G, Y, X in a different way, the way he uses in his normal day-to-day life. That is what we calling as disguise. So, the person will try to modify the characters, the letters of the alphabet, so that his handwriting should not change. But a forensic investigator or a question document examiner can get to know the disguise with the speed, with the inferior quality, with various pen pauses when they should not be there. So, he can get to know that this person is trying to disguise the handwriting. In such cases, what we do? We take the admitted writing of those suspects, we call those suspects again after 2-3 days, and we ask them to write in various different speeds, slow, medium and high, so that they are not able to disguise their handwriting. So, the individuality of handwriting is the basis of all identification. This is identified by the combination of all its attributes and qualities, including both those derived from the writing movement and those related to the forms. These specimens are necessary to establish an individual normal writing habits and to show the variation common to his handwritings. So, as we said that the natural variations are present in the handwritings, and they should be taken into account whenever we are talking about the whether there are slight variations or a lot of variations. So, a person or anyone, if we think about, if we have signed a particular document, the signature, it cannot be replicated in any form. If we see supposedly we take a piece of paper and we do 5 signatures, all the 5 signatures will have natural variations. They will not be ever be similar, which will be done by you at that particular point of time. So, the variation which is coming in your own handwriting, because the human hand is not a machine, it cannot replicate what he has made before. So, the variation which is coming in our own signatures, which we are doing at that time only within a span of seconds, they have different variations which we call as natural variations. These natural variations show the authenticity in the handwriting, and these should be present there. If any signatures which are found in the question documents and the specimen signatures or we have found which are exactly similar to different signatures, that means that is forged or carbon copied or pasted there. So, to know the different authenticity of the writing, we should go and look for the natural variations in the handwriting, which would be helpful in knowing whether the writing is authentic or not. So, forensic document examiner analysis, we must have the particular number of specimen and admitted handwritings to match it with the question documents to come to a 100% conclusion. Thank you.